My dear sisters and brothers, how many nights have you sat quietly, when the world was asleep and your heart was heavy, whispering words only Allah could hear? You may have thought no one noticed the tear that fell, no one understood the ache you carried, no one responded to the dua you repeated again and again. But I want you to pause with me for a moment and let this truth settle deep into your heart. Allah heard every single word you whispered. Sometimes we imagine that for a dua to be accepted, it must be loud, perfect, or immediate in its result. Yet the most merciful is Al-Sami, the one who hears not only the words on your tongue but the cries buried in your chest. The dua you made in sujood, the one you could barely say without your voice trembling, the one you thought was too small or too late, it was never lost. It was always known, always recorded, always cared for by the one who loves you more than you can imagine. So if you came here today carrying disappointment, silence, or the feeling that your prayers are still hanging between the heavens and the earth, I want you to breathe hope back into your heart. Because when Allah delays, it is never neglect. When Allah is quiet, it is never absence. And when your dua feels unanswered, it is often being prepared in a way far more beautiful than what you asked for. There is something deeply intimate about a whispered dua. It is not performed for an audience, not polished for people, not arranged in perfect words. It slips quietly from the heart when the world is silent and the soul feels most exposed. Many of us know that moment, when the lights are off, the phone is put away, and the heart finally speaks honestly. In that moment, you may feel alone, but you are never unheard. Allah hears what is spoken softly, and what is hidden even deeper than words. Sometimes the whisper comes from exhaustion. You have tried to be strong all day. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You told people you were fine when your chest felt tight with worry. And then, when you finally stand in prayer, or sit on your bed in the quiet of the night, the whisper escapes, "Why Allah?" It may not even be a full sentence. It may just be a name called with longing. But the one who created your heart understands the language of every sigh. Allah does not measure your dua by its volume, nor by the perfection of its wording. He does not require eloquence from the broken heart. In fact, some of the most beloved duas are the ones that come wrapped in weakness, trembling, and need. When your voice shakes, when your words stumble, when your eyes fill before your sentence finishes, none of that reduces the value of your dua. If anything, it reflects sincerity, and sincerity is beloved to Allah. There are people who quietly worry that their whispers are too small to matter. They think, there are so many people making dua. There are bigger problems in the world. Why would my small pain be noticed? But this thought comes from forgetting who Allah truly is. The one who hears the footsteps of an ant on a dark rock in the middle of the night does not miss the whisper of a human heart that He Himself created. Your concern is not insignificant to the one who shaped you with care. Sometimes the whisper is not even clear. You sit there and all you feel is heaviness. You want to make dua, but the words feel tangled inside. You repeat the same sentence again and again because that is all your heart can manage. Know that Allah hears beyond the repetition. He hears the fear behind the words. He hears the hope you are almost afraid to admit. He hears the pain you cannot fully explain even to yourself. There is also a special beauty in the dua that is made when no one else is watching. When you raise your hands in front of people, there is always the risk of being seen. But when the dua is whispered into your pillow, or breathed quietly in sujood while everyone else has moved on, that moment carries a sincerity that is very precious. Allah loves the servant who turns to Him privately, who seeks Him when there is no applause, no validation, no human comfort in sight. Many hearts become tired because they whisper the same dua for months, sometimes years, and they begin to wonder if it is being heard at all. Shaitan quietly plants the thought, if it was heard, something would have changed by now. But hearing and immediate responding are not the same thing. Allah hears instantly, always, completely. But His response comes with perfect wisdom, perfect timing, and perfect knowledge of what you cannot see. Think about the mother who hears her child cry in the night. She hears immediately, but she responds in the way that is best, sometimes by feeding, sometimes by soothing, sometimes by simply allowing the child to settle back to sleep. Her hearing is constant, but her response is wise. And Allah's example is far more perfect than any human comparison. When you whisper your dua, it is heard in full, even when the unfolding of the answer takes a path your heart does not yet understand. There are moments when Allah allows you to keep whispering, because the whisper itself is bringing you closer to Him. If every dua were answered instantly in the exact way we imagined, many hearts would stop returning. But Allah, in His mercy, sometimes keeps the door of longing open, because He loves to see His servant come back again and again. Not out of cruelty, never, but out of a love that wants elevation for your soul. Your whispered dua is also never wasted, even in ways you cannot see. Sometimes Allah answers by giving exactly what was asked. Sometimes He answers by delaying until the time is right. Sometimes He answers by turning away a difficulty you never knew was coming. And sometimes He answers by storing the reward for the day of judgment in a way that will make the believer wish none of their du'as had been answered in the dunya, because of the immense reward they will see. The calm heart understands that being heard by Allah is itself an honor. Not everyone is guided to raise their hands. Not everyone feels the pull to whisper in the night. The very fact that your heart turns toward Allah, that your tongue calls His name in your private moments, is already a sign of care from Him toward you. Allah does not invite a heart to call upon Him and then ignore it. There is also comfort in knowing that Allah hears what you never say aloud. Sometimes we filter our du'as, we hold back parts of our fear, we soften the truth of what hurts. We don't even fully admit our worries in words, but Allah hears the heart before the tongue moves. He knows the dua that sits unfinished in your chest. He knows the hope you are almost afraid to hope. He knows the silent question that forms when you simply look up at the sky without speaking. And when the believer truly absorbs this, that every whisper is heard, something begins to soften inside. The loneliness becomes lighter. The waiting becomes more bearable. The quiet moments of the night become less heavy and more hopeful. Because you are not speaking into emptiness. You are speaking to the one who never sleeps, never forgets, and never overlooks the call of His servant. So continue to whisper. Continue to turn back. Continue to let your heart speak, even when your voice feels small. Because the one you are calling upon is closer than you think, more gentle than you imagine, and more aware of your present than you could ever fully comprehend. There is a quiet test that many sincere hearts experience, and it is the test of waiting. You make dua with sincerity, you raise your hands with hope, you whisper with tears in your eyes, and then nothing seems to change. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes years pass, and the heart begins to wonder, if Allah heard me, why is my situation still the same? This is the delicate space where many believers feel their hope trembling, not because their faith is gone, but because their heart is tired. But we must gently remind our hearts of a powerful truth. When Allah delays, it is never neglect. Allah does not forget. Allah does not overlook. Allah does not ignore the call of the one who turns to Him sincerely. What we often experience as delay is actually divine wisdom, unfolding in layers we cannot yet see. Our vision is limited to the moment we are standing in, but Allah sees the full picture, the past that shaped you, the present you are living, and the future that is already written with perfect knowledge. Sometimes the answer is being prepared in ways far more beautiful than what you asked for. You may be asking for something specific, picturing exactly how relief should arrive. But Allah, in His mercy, may be arranging circumstances, protecting you from unseen harm, or preparing your heart so that when the answer comes, it will not break you but elevate you. If every dua were granted instantly in the exact form we demanded, we would often receive what we want but not what is truly best for us. There are moments when delay is actually protection dressed in silence. You may be asking for a door to open, while Allah sees what lies behind that door. You see opportunity, He sees difficulty. You see relief, He sees a test you are not yet ready to carry. Out of mercy, He holds it back. Not because your dua was rejected, but because His knowledge is complete while ours is beautifully, humanly limited. The Al-Mu'min learns to trust that what Allah withholds can sometimes be as much a mercy as what He gives. Delay also has a way of refining the heart. The first time you make a dua, it may come from need. But as the days pass and you continue to return, something deeper develops: humility, reliance, closeness. Your relationship with Allah begins to grow in a way that instant answers would never cultivate. You begin to speak to Him more honestly. You begin to turn to Him more quickly. You begin to recognize your needs to Him in ways that comfort alone rarely teaches. And Allah loves this returning. He loves the servant who keeps knocking on His door. The Prophet taught us that Allah is shy to turn away the hands of His servant when they are raised to Him. Think about that gentleness. The one who controls the heavens and the earth describes His patience with His servant in a way that reflects mercy, care, and generosity. So when the answer feels delayed, do not interpret the silence as distance. Sometimes the silence is simply the space where Allah is nurturing something greater within you. There is also a sweetness in the old mu'min who continues to make dua even when they have not yet seen the result. This is the time of trust. It is easy to call upon Allah when relief comes quickly. But the deeper, more beautiful state is when the heart continues to whisper with certainty even while the old mu'min remain unchanged. This kind of patience is not passive. It is alive with hope, alive with yaqeen that Allah's timing is never random and never careless. Many people assume that unanswered dua means the answer is no. But in reality, the response of Allah comes in different forms. Sometimes it is yes, given immediately. Sometimes it is yes, but later. Sometimes it is something better than what you asked for. And sometimes it is the removal of a harm you never saw approaching. The believer who understands this begins to see delay not as rejection, but as part of a much more merciful conversation between the servant and the Creator. Your heart may still feel tired sometimes, and that is human. Even the most sincere believers feel moments of heaviness in the waiting. Islam does not ask you to pretend you are not hurting. It invites you to bring that hurt back to Allah again and again. Each time you return, you are not starting over, you are deepening your connection. You are showing Allah that your hope in Him is not fragile, not temporary, not dependent on immediate results. And remember, Allah's generosity is not limited by time. What feels long to you is not long to Him. What feels delayed to you is perfectly scheduled in His wisdom. There are people who received answers to their du'as years later in ways they could never have predicted. And when they looked back, they realized that if the answer had come earlier, it would not have carried the same barakah, the same protection, the same beauty. So when your heart feels the weight of waiting, speak gently to it. Remind it that Allah is Hakim, the most wise, and Rahim, the most merciful. Remind it that divine timing is never careless. Remind it that the story is still unfolding even if the page in front of you looks quiet. Your dua has not been ignored. Your tears have not been overlooked. Your night conversations with Allah have not been lost in the heavens. Continue to ask. Continue to hope. Continue to trust the one who hears the whisper before it is fully formed on your tongue. Because sometimes the most beautiful answers are the ones that arrive after the heart has learned patience, after the soul has softened, and after the believer has come to know Allah in a way they never would have if everything had been granted the moment they asked.